Hey guys, welcome to the first video where we're going to be focusing on claps now. So as with the other sections, I'm going to break the clap part of the tutorial course into separate videos, and this one is on, you guessed it, philosophy and just kind of how you need to approach looking at claps, in my opinion. So I like to think of clap samples or group them into four main categories. And those categories are just basically different types of claps that fit a different situation in a song. So once you start to understand and think, okay, there's four different types of claps, finding the samples that you want or that you're kind of hearing in your head become really easy. So I have made a new demo or a new little instrumental section here that we can work with. I'm at 126 beats per minute, so I'm more in the general EDM range. Let's listen to it real quick. All right, so it's kind of like a Z progression. I was listening to his new album recently, or a few of the songs, and yeah, kind of got my Z on with those chords. Anyway, so the four different types of claps, they fit different situations. Some of them work really well in the breakdown of an EDM song. Some of them work really well when you're building or when you're, leading into a drop. Some of them work as percussion, and some of them can replace a snare. It just depends on what you're trying to go for. So let's start to discuss the four different categories of claps. The first category we're going to look at is the one that can act as a snare. All right, so basically you have kick, like boom, ka, on that ka. You're going to have a clap instead of a snare, or you might have both, but the clap is a little bit louder. Now that sample needs to have a very specific type of sound. It has to be punchy, has to be present, and it has to be able to sit in a track without a noticeable snare. So if you think about that, it can't just be like a weak single sample clap. It's usually layered. All right, so there's the first type. Now the second type is going to be the layered clap. Now this is going to be one that you would blend with a snare, or maybe with another clap, but it's going to be one that isn't as big as the first type of clap I just mentioned, but it's going to have, a good amount of presence that's going to layer nicely with a snare and maybe give something to the overall sound that the snare didn't bring to the table. Maybe your snare has a lot of mid and not a lot of high frequencies. Maybe your clap can really start to bring out some of those high frequencies. So the second type is that layered clap. Now the third type, this is what I like to think of as the, quote, big clap. This is the one that sounds like a huge layer, bunch of reverb. You would hear it, instead of being on the boom, ka, you're going to hear it on ka, ka, ka. You're going to hear it every hit, right? And that's great for the breakdowns. It's great for building into a drop. And it's just a cool thing to have at your disposal. It's great for just one-off hits too. And then the fourth type is going to be the percussive clap. Now this is usually going to be a less of a layered sound. It's going to be short. It's going to be kind of something that you can fit in the pocket of your groove. So it's not going to be on the boom, ka. It's going to be in between that, like maybe where you'd stick like a bongo sometimes, or hi-hats or things like that. So the reason I'm saying all this is it really helps to understand going into, trying to find a clap or thinking about adding claps to your productions in whatever genre you're looking at in EDM, really having something in your head, okay, this is what I hear, and then finding that clap or knowing how to make it, instead of just searching through samples and just dragging and dropping and seeing what works. So there are the four different types or four different categories of claps that you'll come across in most genres of EDM. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to actually start to discuss, finding a good clap and hear some of those sample types.